So, today we have the news here from, let's see here. Did a Google search. Yeah, we have the AP News. Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade. States can ban abortion. This is 59 minutes ago. What do you got down here? First line says the Supreme Court on Friday stripped away a woman's constitutional protections for abortion, a fundamental and deeply personal change for Americans' lives after nearly half a century under Roe v. Wade. The court's overturning of the landmark court ruling is likely to lead to abortion bans in roughly half the states. This is a big news for today. Now, in the past, I did a presentation on the Bible and the unborn, where I explained that the unborn human life is a human life according to the Bible. If we look, for example, in the book of Exodus, chapter 21, and we look at 22 and 23, I explained in this presentation how if a unborn child dies, and it says here, if men fight and hurt a woman with child so that she gives birth prematurely, yet no harm follows, he shall surely be punished accordingly as the woman's husband imposes on him. And he shall pay as the judge determined. So if the birth is premature, doesn't mean if the unborn child dies. This passage has been misinterpreted, but it's talking about a premature birth, but the child survives. However, what if the child doesn't survive? But if any harm follows, then you shall give life for life. Now, again, I explained this further in this presentation here, the Bible and the unborn. It shows that human life, whether in the womb or outside of the womb, human life is infinitely valuable, and we cannot biblically justify saying that the unborn human life does not have the right to survive and is of less value than the born human life, so to speak. I look at another passage here, for example, in the book of Genesis 25 and 22. But the children struggled together within her. And so the children, the unborn, are called children. Psalm 139. And it tells us there in verse number 16, Psalm 139 and verse number 16 tells us that, let me go back. In verse 14, I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance being yet unformed, and in your book they all were written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. And so we're talking, I'm reading from the New King James Version, but what we're talking about here is the unformed human life. Still we are seeing, according to the language of the Psalm, the sanctity, the infinite value of human life in the womb. When we fast forward and we look in the book of Luke, for example, Luke chapter 1 and verse number 41. And it happened when Elizabeth heard the greeting of Mary that the babe, it's calling the child not born yet, John the Baptist, in the womb of Elizabeth, it's saying leapt in her womb. And so again, the Bible is very clear. And so, and the science is clear too. As soon as conception happens, as soon as the sperm and the egg meet, you have the DNA there present, individual from the mother, and yet you have that life. And the DNA is saying that is an individual, that is a human life, but it is an individual life from the mother. And so clearly, the unborn child, the unborn life is a human life, and the Bible is referring to the unborn as babes, as we have seen, and so abortion is murder. Now, I go into more of the theological in that presentation that I have there in the Bible and the unborn. Not a very long presentation, only about 7 minutes. Now, on YouTube, there is a presentation from this Dr. Anthony Levitino, and he was a gynecologist, performed many abortions, and this is from Live Action. It is called A Conversation with a Former Abortionist. Is abortion ever medically necessary? Let's see what he says. He performed many of them, obviously an expert in this area, and what does he say? He says that they are never medically necessary. I'll just play the beginning of it.
One of the biggest arguments of pro-abortion activists is that abortion is medically necessary. What's your position on that?
We hear all the time how abortion, including especially late-term abortion, is necessary to save women's lives. Nothing could be further from the truth. I spent 9 years working at a tertiary medical center. I mean, there are only certain hospitals in the country that are designated to take care of the really, really high-risk pregnancies. You don't want to duplicate the effort. It's expensive. So these hospitals get referrals from the surrounding area. And Albany Medical Center in Albany, New York, where I worked, was one of them. I was faculty at the hospital for 9 years. And I saw hundreds of cases of really severe pregnancy complications, cancers, heart disease, intractable diabetes out of control, toxemia of pregnancy out of control. And I saved, in those 9 years, I saved hundreds of women from life-threatening pregnancies. And I did that by delivering them, by ending their pregnancy by delivery, either induction of labor or cesarean section.
Delivering the baby.
You can listen to that entire presentation.
And I always tell people,
an expert saying they're never
in all of those years,
medically necessary.
the number of babies that I that I was obligated to deliberately kill in the process
rape is
was zero.
Also another concern, and emotions run high in that instance. But the Bible is very clear. The unborn human life is an individual life from the mother. The Bible refers to the unborn as babes or children or infants. And the Bible also says in the book of 2 Kings chapter 14, 2 Kings chapter 14, and verse number 6, but the children of the murderers he did not execute, according to what is written in the book of the law of Moses, in which the Lord commanded, saying, fathers shall not be put to death for their children, nor children be put to death for their fathers, but a person shall be put to death for his own sin. And this is a reference to Deuteronomy 24:16. And so Deuteronomy 24:16, that's where the concept comes from. And so a person may say, well, in that case, the unborn should die. But it doesn't change the fact that that's still an unborn human life separate and individual from the father, separate and individual from the mother. Many people say, well, a woman's body, her choice, and she should have a right over her own body. But what about when we're not talking about her body? This is an individual human life, according to the Bible and according to science and according to the DNA. According to Deuteronomy 24:16, we read over here, fathers shall not be put to death for their children, nor shall children be put to death for their fathers. So even though rape is evil, even though it is an evil thing, and we live in a world of evil and sin and pain, and there are so many mothers and those who are in desperate situations that the church, that the people of God should be there for, to support them. And these are all sensitive issues. We live in a broken, sinful world, but but that doesn't change the fact that abortion is murder. And the unborn life is a human being just like the born life. And so to say, well, we can't see that unborn life and therefore they don't have a right because they don't have a voice and so they don't matter is incorrect. But the thing is that, many people are rejoicing and they're happy about this Supreme Court decision, but I'm considering many people are very angry about that decision. What are they going to do about it? This matter is far from over. This matter is far from over there. What will happen as a result? What will they do about it? How will they respond to it? What will come out of that decision? And so definitely we have to wait and see. I think that the decision itself is a step in the right direction, but we definitely do not live in a world where everybody sees things biblically. And many people in church don't see things in a consistent way. There are even some who'll say, yes, I believe abortion is murder. It's wrong for me, but it should be legalized. And, if you ask them, should murders of 5-year-olds be legalized? Should murders of 2-year-olds be legalized? They probably would say no. And so there is inconsistency even within the church. But because we are not living in rational times, we could expect very much to see irrational reactions, emotional reactions to this decision. And human beings, obviously, all of us are sinful and fallen. And once that pressure mounts, what will the result be? We live in times that very much line up with what we read in Isaiah 5:20, woe unto those who call good evil and evil good. There are many who are going to stand against this. We have to wait and see, obviously, where things come out. But I myself am not celebrating. I know many people are celebrating this decision, but I do not believe this is anywhere near the end of this matter, because I know from Scripture that we are in the end times, and we are in times of lawlessness. The Bible describes the end times very clearly in many different areas. One of them being in 2 Timothy chapter 3, and it tells us there in 2 Timothy chapter 3, it says, but know this, that in the last days perilous times will come, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power of God, having a form. Many will go to church, and outwardly it appears that they have a Christian belief system, but it's sometimes the case that there is the pageantry and the formalities that come from a Christian tradition, but the worldview being presented in that church is not Christian. And that lines up with what we read here in 2 Timothy 4 and verse 3. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but according to their own desires, because they have itching ears, they will heap up for themselves teachers. So in other words, they're going to heap up for themselves preachers who are going to scratch that itch, who are going to satisfy what they want to hear, who are going to tell them what they want to hear, worldly things, speaking smooth things, not desiring to be 5 minutes behind the times and to follow the world rather than follow the word. So by no means does this Supreme Court decision end here. By no means. We are living in lawless times, and this matter can very easily be used to galvanize radicals and those who do not want biblical standards, those who do not understand biblical standards, those who want things to continue as they were, and who may even want to push things even further. This decision really just puts the decision for abortion back to the state level, so it doesn't ultimately undo abortion. There are plenty of people in high places that have plenty of resources that are probably not just going to rest and allow this to be the end of the matter, and as well as probably plenty of people who would be very happy with the idea of using this as a basis for packing the Supreme Court. So we don't know how things are ultimately going to turn out. We are living in a time of the bending of the rules like never before. And so this is one reason I'm just waiting. I'm not celebrating. But I do think in and of itself, those judges who stood against Roe v. Wade, generally speaking, again, I don't know all the details involved in their decision, but generally speaking, yes, they did the right thing. But what will come out of it? What will their reaction be? What will the result be? Could it be one step forward, two step backwards? Who knows? Are their lives going to be in danger? Could they receive death threats? Again, wouldn't be at all surprising to me. So we just have to wait and pray and see how things go.